Good evening. My name is not Richard, and today we're going to be talking about part three of the epic saga of stronger relationships. So, today we have to realize that trust is above all else. It's impossible to transform any relationship without a strong feeling of trust and understanding the needs and emotions of the other party. Again, those needs that people typically meet in low quality ways when they're having problems: significance, variety, certainty, and connection. People can get these in low quality ways. For significance, it can manifest in anger. Variety can manifest in frustration. Certainty, fear. And connection can be manifested in depression. Solving personal and emotional challenges and contributing to growth and contribution is the most fulfilling way of interacting with a partner. Now, there were 7 steps to lasting change, which I will summarize at the end. But there are certain algorithms to getting into the heart of the other person. Leverage in order to make such change can be found in determining what people value and need the most, what they get their greatest pain or their greatest pleasure from. Can be used to find a higher motive in which to appeal to in order to initiate change. Now, Tony basically came up with a new way of doing Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try. Because the person today was saying that she was trying all of these things, and so he challenged that by getting her to try and pick up her chair. And obviously, if she picks it up, like, you would pick the chair up. And she don't just try to pick the chair up, and the chair stays on the ground. No, now you're not picking the chair up. So it really does show that there is no such thing as try. You either do something or you don't. And we use that to try to justify failure. Basically, it's like, if you think that you tried, then, well, it wasn't my fault that it didn't work. Letting go of pattern, frustration, and distrust will make people be more open to seeing emotional needs and patterns in new ways. Uh, Once you develop patterns, it's very easy to fall into them, and it can be very difficult to break them. And they can lead to frustration and distrust. Uh, Differences in a partner can be viewed as a challenge rather than resorting to frustration. You can see it as a challenge in order to truly, a communications challenge to try and truly understand where someone else is coming from. Uh, Failing relationships often involve cycle of pursuit and withdrawal. One side will be frustrated and they may withdraw, which will cause the other person to try and pursue, which can initiate even more withdrawal. And we get this vicious cycle. In order to break it, we need to strengthen one another. We need to see each other's behavior and not condemn it as something, an outlash or being nasty or mean, but to see it as an expression of needing to be loved. And that's one of the keys to try and get past the negative emotions and see through to what's really happening. Committing and giving is really what's needed, not pursuit and withdrawal. Men can result in can resort to defensive behaviors when they don't feel that they're wanted or loved. Withdrawal with anger, focusing on work, but they still want to be loved. So that's the thing. The heart doesn't get tricked by the memories of the past. The mind easily can fall into focusing on the past and hindering progress into the future. Other defense mechanisms can include stonewalling and, again, withdrawal. These are people putting up a front, right? Rather than being open and vulnerable, just shutting down and closing off. And that's pretty much the death knell of many relationships. People see communication not as comments or as requests, but as complaints, and that further elicits those feelings of withdrawal and stonewalling. We can't feel if we resist the legitimate criticisms of other people. They can't really find a common ground if everything is dismissed, which is pretty sensible. Misinterpretation is also a problem. Pain of being hurt can cause the misinterpretation of love as an accusation. So in the example today, the man said, what is the problem? He said, well, I haven't been able to get into your heart. And she was very upset by that and went on this complete tirade and then cried and tried and then just really got upset. And he said, why are you upset? He said, well, you said that I haven't given you my heart. And it was quite an interesting moment because the entire audience has heard that's not what he said. He said, I haven't been able to get in. But it showed that she was so hurt that she wasn't even hearing what he was saying. She was saying one thing and she heard it as something completely different. And it was quite interesting because he's like, well, there's 1,500 people here. Usually, if a woman makes something up, there's no witnesses, the guy's fucked. But here, there's 1,500 people that heard that that's not what he said. So I thought that was very illuminating. So you have to evaluate, was it an attack or was it just a request for love? Because we have to get our needs met. And that needs to be from devotion to one another and not from external sources or from being aggressive or frustrated or withdrawing. We need to be alert for indirect messages that what is needed is our presence. So we have to always be alert and focus on, are we being present? Are we open to hearing these communications and being receptive and loving through them? You know, it's like, that was the big climax, was he had her say everything you need to say to him. And there was a whole bunch of nasty things and a whole bunch of complaints and grievances. And his instruction to him was not just keep loving her through it. And eventually she used up all of her aggression. There was nothing left. And he was still just, stalwart in his love. And it was, very touching. Got to be man enough to stay the course. Once he had agreed that she was a pussy, he acknowledged that she had been a bitch. Couldn't say it better myself. So, in summary, the 7 steps to lasting change. First of all, is to understand the other's world. What needs do they value most? What do they believe they must do to satisfy these missing needs? 2, you got to, just like before, you got to find leverage. You got to discover the emotional relationships and then commit to solving the problem. You got to interrupt those habitual patterns. You got to challenge. When you see someone resorting to old behaviors, you have to use, some form of shocking language or challenging assertions that can snap them out of it and prime the brain for, healthy resolution. Define the problem in solvable terms. You have to be able to say what it is, and rather than focusing on the problem, focus on that solution. We have to create new ways for couples to interact, expressing feelings with no anger, no expectations, and really get a level playing field where what needs to be said can be said so that the actual solution can be found. We need new behavior, and it has to be conditioned. So we have to figure out how to maintain positive change while envisioning a better future. And finally, we need to relate to higher needs and a higher purpose in life, to see that it's worth it to go through the swamp in order to get to the golden vista. So it was a very, very touching display today and very illuminating of strategies for building stronger and healthier relationships. My name is not Richard. Thank you very much for joining me.